What's up, guys? We are back with another Legions review. We're taking a look at something that isn't quite technically out yet. We're taking a look at an early release Wasteland figure that came out at the recent New Jersey Toy Con. So we're taking a look at TORGUN REDFIN today. So this is the latest dwarf in the line, and he's definitely got some interesting stuff going on. That head sculpt in particular has definitely drawn me in. Of course, this guy comes in our standard Legions packaging, so you've got him there in the big window, collector-friendly stuff, bio card on the side, and then the back of the box has the same artwork we've seen since Advent of Decay, as well as a bit of a write-up. So let's do it. Let's pull this guy out and take a look. And here he is out of the package, our TORGUN REDFIN, our very much dwarven barbarian style of figure, and I'm digging a lot about this particular guy. I'm a big fan of the bare-chested figures just because they look a little bit different and there aren't tons and tons of them. And this guy just looks like a brawler, and I'm really excited about this particular figure. Not just because he has a big orangish red mohawk going on and a beautiful beard. So let's dig right in, take a look and see what this guy can do as far as moving him around. It's not going to be anything too crazy because we've seen all of these parts, well, not this head, but we've seen all of this stuff before. It's all older 1.0 style body. So you've got a head that can look up a little bit, and he can't really look down because of, well, all that business right there. You've got a little bit of tilt action for a little attitude, and then you've got rotation. Of course, his beard is going to eventually hit his body. The arms go out, and then they rotate in the shoulder. I will, again, like I do with a lot of Legion stuff, stress, you know, you might want to heat this guy up. I haven't really had any issues with him, but his arms are pretty tight even after heating him up. You've got a single jointed elbow, which only goes so far, almost 90-ish. You've got a rotating wrist, and then you've got a rotating forearm rather, and then you've got a rotating wrist with hinges as well. You've got your ball peg at the waist, so it's an older style body, so he has no torso cut. So he goes backwards, he goes forwards, side to side, and rotation. Legs go out pretty much all the way. They kick forward pretty much all the way, and then they kick backwards quite a bit as well. You, of course, have a, it's not really a thigh cut, it's kind of low on this guy, but it is, you know, kind of a thigh cut upper knee swivel almost, right here. It's hidden by the armor, and then you've got a knee swivel as well as a single jointed hinge, and then you've also got ankle swivel, and you've got ankle rocker, and you've got ankle hinges. So he is pretty much exactly what you expect he's going to be if you've ever messed around with a Mythic Legions dwarf. The only real difference with this particular guy is that he does have a limited mobility at the head just because you get this luxurious beard. Now, when it really comes down to it, the meat and potatoes of this figure for me is it's always going to be the look, the feel, the sculpt, the paint, and that's pretty much how it is for Legions in general with me. They move well enough. They certainly could have a little bit more articulation. That's pretty much true for every single figure. But they look so amazing, and that's everything I want out of my toys. I want them to look cool, and this guy undoubtedly looks really cool. Like I said before, he definitely looks like a brawler, a bruiser, you know, very much like a dwarven barbarian almost. So this is one dwarf that you definitely, by the looks of him, don't want to mess with. And I think the Horsemen did a pretty good job of mixing this bit of parts together because, you know, there's really nothing going on here that we've not seen before. So I really like just the idea behind this one. Of course, you can beef him up with a few accessories, which we'll talk about. But at the core of this guy, he is an unarmored from the waist up dwarf, and I think he looks really good. There is just a fantastic amount of sculpt, all on the chest, all on the flesh of the character to give you just this tremendously muscled and very strong looking dwarf. He's got a good bit of wash on him, a little bit of, it's almost kind of a gray color is what it looks like on certain bits of the musculature to bring out some of that sculpt. You of course have got some actually armored wrists and hands with some very dwarven style armor, and then you've got one of the more barbarian style belts. This is one like that we see on Adamon, for example, something like this, and then you've got more of the dwarven style of girdle, as well as more of the dwarven style leg armor, which has some of that gold inlay design in there to bring out that sculpt, and then he's even got a little bit of gold down here on his boots just to be a little bit more ostentatious. But it's all standard Legion stuff, and that's not standard in a bad way. It's not like, oh, it's that same stuff over and over and over again. This guy just looks really awesome, and I'm a big fan of the idea behind this one. The idea that there is this little guy that is definitely dwarfed, no pun intended, by a lot of other figures in the line, but he looks like he could probably take all of them on, and a lot of that comes through specifically when you take a look at this head sculpt. Because I mean, just look at the scowl on this guy's face. He definitely looks like somebody you would not want to mess with, despite the fact that he's a good 1.5 feet, 2 feet shorter than every other character. He looks fantastic, and the big thing for me with this guy is definitely the beard. It's definitely the mohawk. It's really the colors that they gave him. I like the idea of this guy having this incredibly huge, vibrant red beard. The braiding on it, the sculpt work is just fantastic. The kind of metal caps at the end look really good. His big bushy eyebrows, just the furrowed brows. He does have a little bit of a wash on his skin tone as well. He kind of looks a little dirty almost in certain light. And then you've got this just stellar mohawk. I can't say how happy I am about this mohawk. Well, I suppose I did. But it just looks too cool. It's definitely different. It's a little bit unique, and it certainly gives off this very, kind of rough and tumble bruiser style design for this guy that just really works for me. I think it's another fantastic example of a great head sculpt accentuating basically a fantastic body on top of it. Of course, we've also got some accessories to talk about with this guy, and he does, as usual, have a way to change him up a little bit, so you do have some pauldrons you can swap on this guy. And I always think it's kind of weird to have pauldrons on one of the bare-chested figures, but at the same time, it really works. You just have to kind of suspend the disbelief that there are pegs stuck in this guy's back holding his pauldrons up, but he still looks really cool. They are that same kind of gunmetal-y color with a little bit of gold paint on them. Not a whole lot. The inlay is actually not painted on this guy. It's just the little kind of rivets on the top, but they do look fantastic, and they make him look a little bit beefier. This might be one of the figures, though, where I decide to not use pauldrons, and that's pretty rare, but I think he looks really good without them. But he also looks solid with them, so your mileage may vary on what you want to do. Of course, he does have a few other things. We, of course, have the ever-present strap that you can throw on him to holster a weapon. This figure did not come with the wing adapters, and that's not too uncommon when it comes to the early release figures, but I just can't remember, so I have about 1 million of them, so it doesn't really matter. We've got a shield for this guy, and it's done up with some red and white for the wooden sections, and we've seen this thing before a few times, but it looks good in this color scheme. I just like the idea that it's got a little bit more to it to make it pop, because a lot of stuff like this would normally have just been maybe the regular just wood grain color. And then you've also got here, you've got a sword, and we've seen this guy before as well, but you've got a kind of a gunmetal-y color for the blade, and then you've got a bit of a bronze hilt with a little sawtooth action going on here, and then you've got the wider end. So I really like this particular sword. It's probably going to be the thing I use the most, although the mace might be the more appropriate weapon for a dwarf, and this is done up with kind of it's almost a golden copper color. There's a little bit of a wash to it to give it like a little worn, patinaed look, but this does look really nice. And this might be the more appropriate look for this guy, but I might just have him dual wield both, because frankly, this guy looks like he would not have one but two weapons when he's going to town on someone. So you don't have a ton of stuff for this particular figure, but I think you've got enough to give him exactly really what he needs. So overall, I think we've got a pretty solid figure here. I'm sure that's obvious at this point, though. There's something about this particular dwarf that really does it for me, because dwarves normally aren't something that I really care too much about. I don't have all of them, and they aren't anything that really draws me in. But this guy is the combination of a dwarf and kind of a barbarian bruiser type of character, and that really works. And I think it comes through pretty well with this particular figure. Of course, there's a big bushy beard and a huge red mohawk on him, and that definitely works for me. It's just something different and cool. But the idea behind this figure is really what does it for me. And of course, the execution is exactly what you would expect. Great sculpt, great paint applications, solid accessories. So you really can't go wrong with this guy, especially if you're in the market for a big red-headed Mohawk dwarf. I would urge you to get one, because you certainly won't be disappointed. So that's going to do it for this look at the Mythic Legion's Wasteland TORGUN REDFIN. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.